suddenly started to bang his fists on the monitor and roared. Then he yelled at me.
Do you want to fight me in real life and...
This guy looks really well built. Low-key kinda got muscles on him, and this is how he sounds.
The monitor and roared. Then he yelled at me.
Do you want to fight me?
Hello everyone, my name is Samara the King, and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be reacting to some scary stories. So I'm sorry I haven't been uploading this much for October. I've been trying to get a video out. The intro is taking long for some reason, so we're gonna react to Wansi Entertainment. I can't show you because if I do, for some reason the recording's gonna crash. I don't know why that happens, but yeah, his name is Wansi Entertainment. Go check him out. 3 horror stories by him, and yeah, let's get to it. Here we go. I'm ready. 3 Ding Dong Ditcher.
My name is Isaac. I'm from Australia.
No one asked.
This is a scary story I'd like to tell you. One day when I was in my early teens, a friend came over for a sleepover during school holidays. We decided to do some ding-dong ditching, which is going up to houses and knocking on the door or ringing the doorbell and then running off or hiding, since that's what kids our age got up to back then.
Listen here, kid. I'm not an innocent little kid, all right? I said it twice in a sentence. Okay. Well, listen here, buddy. I don't need you to, I'm not stupid, all right? I know how ding dong ditching works. Now get back to the scary story, loser. I'm sorry.
After ding dong ditching a few houses,
I'm just saying, like, how could you not know ding dong ditching?
At the top
Come
of
on
a
now.
small hill.
You gotta be innocent. You gotta be purely innocent.
Way leading up to the house with a gray patrol SUV out front.
Yeah, guys, let's just go to the abandoned house. Let's go ding dong ditch an abandoned house, or a very scary looking house with scary trees and scary bushes. And what's funny is that the car is like the car is like the most normal thing out of everything that's here.
Driveway leading up to the house with a gray patrol SUV out front. Of course, it was my turn to go, so I walked up and looked for the door. Keep in mind, there were a lot of bushes out front, so I had to search for the door. I went on one side in front of the car and looked, but it turned out to be the side gate, which was open. I wasn't a real bad kid, so I didn't go in at all.
Yeah.
But right as I turned around to go back down the driveway, a red, old and sporty car pulled up and
it's over for you.
Drove up the driveway and saw
it could have been over for
you. The person driving it was about 20 or so, and in the passenger seat was a girl who was about the same age. Of course, he immediately got out of his car and walked up to me and started asking what I was doing and yelling at me. I was getting scared, thinking he was going to beat me up. I looked for my friend, but
he's scared he was gonna, and his friend just disappeared.
Away. I told him what we were doing and that I meant no harm, and he let me off with a warning. But this isn't where the story ends. A different day, maybe about a week later, I was riding my bike down near a park when I saw the red car again. I rode right past it, so I knew they saw me too. I rode away as fast as I could, but it chased me. I eventually got to the end of the road and went onto a path that led to a big loop around the lake that would lead back to the main road. While I was riding around the loop, I looked across the lake.
This animation's actually really good, by the way.
Car sitting there, waiting for me at the exit. I panicked and quickly looked in the bushes and found a path made by other bike riders, so I went down there. I ended up getting home safely and didn't tell my parents. But later that evening, things took a turn.
Is this like the most oblivious mom ever? Why, like, you can see your kid is like sweating, tired, like you're not gonna ask what happened?
For the worse. I was sitting in my room playing video games when all of a sudden I heard the loud engine of the car as it was pulling into our driveway. I quickly ran to the front door and looked through the front
guy must have been stalking him if he knows where...
It was the same person who I saw at the park.
Knows like the sound of the engine.
Girl. This time it was another guy who looked about the same age as the other. I told my
parents he's kidnapping people.
And when they saw them, my mom called the cops. There was a gate in front of the door at my house, which we were looking at them through, and they walked right up to it. To my surprise, one of the men took out a metal pipe and started hitting the gate with full force. I screamed and locked the door. After 1 minute of continuous hitting, we heard the gate fly open. The only thing left for them to break before getting in was the old wooden door, which could be opened with just a kick. Just then, we heard police sirens and people yelling. After it all died down, we came out and saw the 2 men being arrested. And the look he gave me sent chills down my body.
Most cringy face I've ever seen.
We later found out that the men were on drugs, and the driver had a gun and was planning to kill me. I've never
For what?
Since.
I mean, he did ding dong ditch him. What the heck is this? Okay, let's get this out of the way. That's not exactly what I meant. I'm just saying, like, if you provoke someone, if you provoke a crazy person in the slightest, they're gonna do something. Also, what is this? Your Honor, she won't stop talking about it. I want to see. Now I'm curious.
This is a story about an incident that I caused when I was a reckless teenager.
Okay.
And because of it, I still carry a terrible trauma with me. If I hadn't acted so foolishly back then, my life would have gone smoothly.
What?
I cannot help but recall that nightmare-like incident, even if I don't want to keep reliving it. It must have been about 15 years ago. I was around 17.
Okay.
At that time, my routine after school was to go to the arcade with my friends. On the day of the
wow, you must be old now. Arcades. Okay.
Incident, I was happily playing a game called Tekken with my friends at the arcade.
Yo, Tekken. Where's Mortal Kombat at?
Also a man in his 30s playing the same game. I ended up competing with him at Tekken. At that time, I was known to be very good at Tekken. There was no one in the neighborhood who...
This guy's about to do something to this kid over a game? Dude, come on
beat
now.
Me.
There's no way.
The man was completely defeated by me, and I could see him gritting his teeth in anger, challenging me, and I kept winning. Then, he suddenly started to bang his fists on the monitor and roared. Then he yelled at me.
Do you want to fight me in real life and...
This guy looks really well built. Low-key kinda got muscles on him, and this is how he sounds.
The monitor and roared. Then he yelled at me.
Do you want to fight me?
Ain't no way. Ain't no way.
Real life instead of playing.
You sound like SpongeBob, my boy. You sound like SpongeBob, except even punier.
Game?
But I burst out laughing because he was clearly a big man in his 30s, but his voice sounded like a child's.
Exactly.
Then he suddenly grabbed me by the collar, as if he was more angry at my laughter. I was flustered by his aggression, and my friends who were watching started trying to stop him. Then, the man's expression suddenly became very stern, and the sound of his voice did a 180. He said in a very deep, rumbling, low voice,
"Are you the one who made Max mad?"
What?
I swallowed hard, confused by the sudden change in his demeanor. At that moment, I thought this man was mentally ill, and I had a gut feeling that something was wrong. I was scared because he was a big man. When I apologized, the man's eyes and expression suddenly changed to gentleness again. I let go of my collar and said,
"I'm sorry, my friends are too hot-tempered."
What is going on? Why are you just watching him say this stuff? Run away. What are you doing?
Should I hit him?
No, you stay still.
I still can't forget the chill running down my spine as I watched the scene in front of me. I was about to leave the arcade when the man suddenly shouted,
"Where are you going, you punk? Max keeps crying because of you. Let's play another round of Tekken."
When I turned around in surprise, the man was running towards me with tears in his eyes. I screamed, and the man threw himself at me and swung his fist.
In slow motion, in slow
barely
motion,
managed to avoid it, but he didn't stop. Some of my friends
How do you go from this?
At the exit,
How do you go from this?
I rode right past him
And then you go from to this. Hold on.
because he was clear to gentleness.
How do you go from that to this?
Can't
I don't
forget
understand.
at me and swung his fist.
Look at this.
I barely managed to avoid it, but he didn't stop. Ran over and started fighting with the guy, and I heard someone calling the police.
You got some great friends, unlike the dude in the last story.
I should have run away then, but I was too young and made a bad call. I was angry and punched him back. He fell back after being hit by my punch, and he seemed to be unconscious for a moment. After a moment, he opened his eyes and started shouting in an unrecognizable language. Then he suddenly jumped at my friend Frank and pushed him. Frank fell back, hitting his head on the game's console and falling to the floor. I could see blood flowing from his head. I was terrified and froze in place. Then the guy suddenly shouted in a woman's voice,
"Everyone, please stop! Do you want to go to jail again?"
Then he pointed at me again and said in a
I am very confused. Does he have separate personalities? I've heard that's a thing, but I don't know. What is going on?
We have to kill him. He made Max mad. Max is still crying.
Then he shouted something in Chinese and looked around wildly. It
His friend is just lying there, like
seemed like he was looking for something. I was scared and stuck next to my friend.
What is happening?
Then he shouted again in a deep, manly voice.
Why are you just... You had all this time to run, and you're not running away. What are you doing?
Is looking for a knife right now. He said he'll cut you up. This guy used to run a butcher shop. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, this is stupid.
Us. Do you think you can beat us?
Yo, low key, kick him. Kick him where it hurts most. In the ball.
After a while, the police arrived.
His friend is just still lying there, like, what is going on?
His eyes and facial expressions suddenly became softer, and he spoke to the police in a very kind voice. The police looked at the man and said he seemed like a good person, and asked us if he really had been violent. And they had a hard time.
I don't know, just go look at his friend over here. Yeah, he was violent.
The police in a very...
Yeah, just look at his friend. He's currently bleeding from his skull right now. So if you wanna go look into that and then come back to this guy, please do.
A kind of
like, do you not see the guy dead on the... These cops
The police looked at the man and said he seemed like a good person.
Really? Really?
And asked us if he really had been violent. And they had a hard time believing it. However...
Look at you. Thank you. At least they listened.
The testimonies of many witnesses, the guy was eventually arrested. I also went to the police station for questioning, and there the guy continued behaving like a nice person in front of the police. I couldn't tell if it was just an act or if the man was being genuine. Anyway, after that day, I never went to the arcade again and stopped playing games completely. And I suffered terrible trauma from the stress of the situation and the guilt of what happened to my friend. What on earth was that man?
How are you gonna actually... Bro, these cops are dumb. What? He was dead on the floor, and they don't think this guy is a bad person for it, and he's just being nice to us. I mean, like, that means nothing.
Man's true identity. Were all of them true?
What is going on? True White Van Horror Story.
Hi, Wansi. I'm a huge fan of your channel, and I love all of your animated stories. By the way, this incident did not happen to me, but to my grandmother.
Okay.
Recently, my grandma came to live with us, and since then, she has told me a lot of her numerous encounters with the paranormal. This particular encounter happened in 1974 in Anambra State, Nigeria. My grandma was in her late 40s at the time. It was a Saturday when she received a call from the local hospital. A nurse on the phone told her that her daughter, my aunt, who was pregnant, was in labor, and that her presence was needed at the hospital. It was raining out, but it seemed urgent, so my grandma began making her way there quickly. According to her, the hospital was around a 15-minute walk from her house.
Wow, okay.
She was making her way there by foot, and as time went on, the rain only became more and more aggressive. The streets were empty and flooded, and there were no vehicles in sight. My grandma said she was frightened to walk through the flood since it was dangerous, but she also didn't want to abandon her daughter at the hospital. Caught in a dilemma, she stood at the side of the road, not sure of what to do. Then, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a white van came and stopped beside her. She explained that she didn't notice any cars coming, and so she was surprised to see the white van there. Inside the van, there was a man dressed in a uniform, like a security guard uniform. He asked her where she was going, and she told him she needed to be at the hospital down the road. The man told her to get in, and she did. As soon as she got to the hospital, she got out of the van, thanked the man, and began to make her way to the entrance of the hospital. Upon getting there, she met her friend who had also come earlier upon hearing that my aunt was in labor. Her friend was surprised to see her, and she asked her how she got to the hospital through the heavy rain. My grandma told her that someone was kind enough to drop her off. She turned to point toward the street where the van was supposed to be. But to her surprise, the van wasn't there. It was almost like it had vanished into thin air.
You did see it drive off, didn't you?
My grandma's friend was confused and said she hadn't seen or heard any van. The road was long and straight, so if one were to look down the road at that moment, they should have been able to catch a glimpse of the van driving down the street in the distance. But when Grandma looked, there was no van, nobody. The road was empty, and the rain was still pouring. She told me anytime she remembers this event, it sends shivers down her spine. And to
how about you don't have her tell the story?
Who that man was, where the van came from, or why it helped her to get to the hospital on that rainy day.
Because he is a kind soul. Okay, guys. So my recording crashed because I actually forgot that if I go into the suggested and look around, the recording crash, and but that's fine. So here's another story called "My Girlfriend is Hiding a Dark Secret from Me," and this is from Stephen D. I can't show you because my recording is gonna crash. So I've been watching this guy for a long time. He's a really underrated animator. He makes good content. Doesn't post too much, but when he does, they're bangers. More from him, but
I'm always on
a lot of these videos I've already watched, so
to find the craziest true stories to share with you.
No way, really?
And it's been a minute since I've done one of these relationship stories, and I think I found one that you
don't tell me it's
enjoy.
A sponsor.
Oh yeah, this one? Yeah, she's crazy.
Dwayne is a single father looking to find a mother for his son. When one day he met Tausha, a single mother who worked at the daycare his son was in. Tausha and Dwayne started talking, and immediately they hit it off. Within a month, Dwayne wanted Tausha and her daughter to move in with him.
See, I don't like this.
His mother was feeling a little suspicious about the move, and Tausha in general, since things were going a little too quickly.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until Dwayne's son Bubba started having stomach issues.
What?
Dwayne and his mother found out that Tausha was giving Bubba laxatives several times a day.
What is wrong with you? That's to make caca. Why are you giving him those? You sick. I can't say the word, my bad.
But she explained that those were just the pharmacist's instructions. She said she was giving Bubba magic water to
magic water. Okay.
Heal his stomach issues. And that was when the first red flags really started to show.
Okay, so can you get rid of her now?
There were letters in the mail for Tausha coming in that had a different last name.
Tasha Morton.
And he finds an old marriage license.
What?
Tausha Fields had been married to a man named Mitch.
Oh yeah, also, sorry, my bad. Stephen D, I think all of his stories are based on a true story. Hey, I don't know. I think so.
In Missouri, but she's told Dwayne that she had never been married before. So once Dwayne confronted her about it, she confessed that she had been married a total of 5 times by the age of 30.
What?
At this point...
Hey, hold on. How old were you when you got married for the first time? That's a little weird. What the heck? Okay.
Dwayne had already lost trust with Tausha, but they continued dating. later, Tausha calls Dwayne and pleaded him to help her ex-boyfriend Keith after finding out that he OD'd on drugs.
Oh, no, man.
First of all, Dwayne had never heard of this man before, but he complied and brought him to the hospital. So once Keith made a full recovery, Dwayne questions him about
Imagine if Tasha was the reason he had to go to the hospital.
Tausha and her background, to which Keith tells him that she once drunkenly confessed that her husband Greg killed a man in Missouri on her behalf.
But they both thought that the story was too wild to be true. She lies more efficiently than she breathes. She's a pretty dangerous person because she doesn't look it, Keith warns him. A few months later, Dwayne found out for himself and broke up with Tausha after he caught her cheating on him with another man.
Why did it take you this long to break up with someone? Like she gave your kid laxatives for no reason. Then you find out that she has 5 marriages. But when you figure out that a guy was cheating on her, was with her, and she was cheating on you, you decide, oh yeah, let me just break up with her now. Like it didn't take you for it didn't take like it wasn't enough that she was just pretty much torturing your kid with laxatives, but oh nah, she cheated on me. That's enough. Like, come on.
Furious, he kicks her out of the house and goes into Tausha's MySpace account that was still logged in, and there he finds messages from years ago, specifically from Mitch Kemp's family, asking Tausha if she knows what happened to him.
Hi Tasha, we are very concerned. How is Mitch? We haven't heard from him in over 4 years. Can you give us any information on what happened to him? Please answer. Whoa.
Immediately, he thinks about the marriage license and how maybe she was telling the truth about her ex-husband Greg killing a man in Missouri.
What?
He goes to the police, telling them everything he knows, and they take on this investigation. The only problem is that she moved to Alabama to be with another man. After police track Tausha down, they bring her in for questioning. Tausha tells the detective she and her first husband, Mitch, were married for 8 months, and after fighting over the custody of their daughter, she left without knowing anything about what happened to him. At this moment, it was said that Mitch was still missing. There were no movements in his bank accounts or activity with his social security number. When did you leave Greg, your other ex-husband? Oh, that's been a couple of years ago. What type of person is Greg?
Yeah.
I have nothing bad to say about him.
So why'd you leave him?
After a lot of pressure from the police, she decided to change her story and said that Greg was a horrible and angry man. Okay, so if I thought he had done something to Mitch, it wouldn't surprise you.
So shouldn't that be enough? Like, that should like give you an idea that she's insane, right? Or
do you think he's capable of doing something like that? I mean, he hurt me, he could do anything. What did he do? Let it out. Tausha confessed that Greg killed Mitch. She told the investigator that she was having an affair with her ex-husband. And Greg shot him to death in a jealous rage at his 40-acre farm.
Wow.
I know where the body was disposed, but I wasn't there.
I feel like she's lying anyway,
because she kept changing her story.
Yeah.
The detective knew she was most likely lying about not being there. She brought them to Greg's farm in Missouri and pretended to be confused and not knowing where she was because they sold the house, but then changed her mind again and pointed out where Mitch Kemp's body was.
Like, shouldn't it?
They found the body, and he was shot 6 times in the chest.
Alright, so she was telling the truth.
Now they have a body to prosecute a murder with. Greg confessed to the murder, but made a deal with prosecutors.
See, this is why Stephen D's the GOAT. He tells true stories, no cap whatsoever.
To testify against Tausha. She started dating Greg just 6 months after her divorce to Mitch, but it became horrible when Mitch wanted to take custody of their daughter. She blatantly lies about the heinous acts he did to her and their daughter, and as a result, she lured Mitch to Greg's farm, and that's where he was killed.
No.
For his testimony, Greg took a plea deal and was sentenced to 19 years in prison.
Not just 19 years, are you serious? How about life in prison? What do you mean?
2010, the jury found Tausha guilty, and she was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Wait, hold on. I know I'm not trying to be like being discriminating, like to discriminate against. Wait, okay. So what did she do? She did. She is the reason of all of this. This is technically all her fault. But shouldn't you give them both life in prison? I'm just saying. Like, you know, she's a manipulator. She manipulated everybody to do bad things technically. So they should both get life in prison regardless. Right? Okay guys, so no, we're not gonna watch any, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm sorry I couldn't upload much. I need to still edit that video, and then I have to do this video. So if you guys want to see more like this, make sure you know, if you want to see more, I got another reaction video right there, right here. Go watch it, enjoy yourself, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye everyone.